So welcome back. This module is about transliteracy for English language learners, and it's a chapter in your book. And I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to keep up with the digital innovations and technology innovations, software, everything that has to do with modern technology and the internet today, because this is going to directly impact your teaching. In fact, these modules that you're watching now, if you're listening to my voice and seeing sometimes a talking head, these are made on an iPad with a new software called Explain Everything. So let's take a look at this slide here. Technology in terms of understanding the conceptual framework behind it. Make sure that you understand what a conceptual framework is before you move on to the next slide. If you don't know this term, Google it. This is straight from your book about conceptual frameworks and things you should learn in terms of using technology and other kinds of innovative things in the classroom. So what is the difference between going from oral to print to computer in terms of literacy? We call this the new literacies, and it's an interesting thing that has only happened in the last, since the 90s. So I don't know how old you are, but it's new for me, and it wasn't available when I was in graduate school. So it's a really wide open field to study, and it will impact the way that you are teaching. So what are the assumptions about the new literacies? Well, the first assumption is that we need new skills and strategies and dispositions, social practices, because technology impacts the way that we communicate, the way that we think, the way that we interact with each other, and the way that we interact with print and information in general. One important thing is visuals. Since I was in graduate school, everything was text-based and book-based. And now a lot of the learning is done in terms of YouTubes and other kinds of Vimeo, other kinds of visual interactive streaming devices. New literacies also connect us fully to the global community if you have the socioeconomic status to be able to afford it, which is in some ways discriminatory because there are many parts of the world that can't do that. New literacies are regularly changing and evolving. They're evolving so fast that it's just stupendous. There's a really good site, if you're interested in that, Benedict Evans has a blog and a Twitter feed. He's a techie. He's an interesting guy. You might want to follow him on Twitter. He talks about the changes in technology, and some of them are related to the new literacy changes. And then the last thing, literacies are multifaceted and benefit from multiple points of use. So in some ways, the new literacies and digital technologies have given us a real step up in terms of processing information and learning. As teachers, one of the big things that you have to think about when you're teaching is the safety. And so you have to teach reliability versus like fake news and fake facts. Skills that you need for the new literacies. They're all listed here. All of this is coming directly from your book. So if you have your book, you might want to highlight this stuff and keep abreast of it. So the multiliteracy perspective is that it's not just technology, but it's also linguistic and cultural diversity on a global scale. Oops, there's a D missing there. So with Google Translate, for example, we can go from talking in just one language to translating and talking into hundreds of languages, more or less pretty efficiently. It's not perfect. Translation is really a fine art and a skill, but Google Translate has really come a long way since it first came out. Big question, how do we use the internet safely at school? One of the things I've noticed coming back to the United States a few years ago is that internet usage is regulated very tightly in American K-12 schools. Like, for example, you can't get on YouTube, can't do a lot of things. Other places in the world there is no regulation because teachers are the monitors, the direct monitors, and I guess, there are pros and cons to both points of view, but the internet definitely has safety issues as well as great possibilities. Back to this big question, what's the difference between print literacy and digital literacy? And this is from your book. It's a good question. That might be a really good essay kind of question that you could give to your students if you're teaching, the high school levels or middle school. So what's negative about the new literacies? The distraction factor, the fake news factor, the fact that there's so much out there that it's really hard to focus and concentrate. And there's a lot of articles and research being done right now saying that some of the ADHD and other kinds of attention deficit disorders that are happening could be significantly related to the fact that technology is making information overload. This is from your book, looking at different things about digital literacies. This is again from your book about safety with the internet. This is also from your book, Ways to Differentiate Learning Using Technology. It's just amazing. You can get on the internet and use so many already developed lessons and ideas and concepts and frames to teach really effectively. One thing I really like is visuword.com for teaching morphology and academic language content. I don't know if any of you remember Web 1.0, and now we have Web 2.0, and it's just we've gone from like web quests and hunting to like very interactive stuff. Flipgrid is something that we use in this course and other courses I teach, and H5P, which is free right now. It's a wonderful tool. There's just so much out there, and everything is evolving and changing and becoming more intuitive and more easy to use. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a Whiteboard, especially for math. Really interesting tool. It's only $100. So this is the end of our short transliteracy module. I hope you will read the book and look around on the internet and share your ideas about what you know about what's going on in terms of innovations in technology today. And I look forward to seeing you next time.